Welcome back to Shabby Shack Studio, friends. As you can see, we have a pumpkin theme. Clearly, we're making pie, and it is almost October. Oh my goodness! So what do we need? We need a bujo setup. So this is what we're doing. You can see me setting up a nice little flat lay little vignette to start with, and before we get busy with our journal pages. And this month we have like a really great kind of combination of lovely cardstocks, black and white, ink, white gel pen, watercolor. As you can see, heaps and heaps of watercolor. All the pages have are a watercolor paper, and pencil. Lots of watercolor pencil this month too. Starting as always with a bit of a cover page, a little standalone watercolor, which I think was fun. This one I like and really like. I always do what I always do. I kind of create it as I go with you guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it along the way. I work through the ugly stage because all artwork has an ugly stage, and I just keep going and playing with it until I'm either generally I'm loving it at the end, or at least I'm liking it at the end. I'm not sure if this is a favourite piece this month, but it is fun and it's a bit of a departure from the norm, and that's always good too. And of course it has a little bit of that kind of Halloween element. Quite honestly, drawing and painting pumpkins is actually super fun for me. I really enjoy it. I did create this piece with the intention to ink it, so it would have a combination of ink and watercolor elements. And then I decided I just felt like it was a bit dark. I wasn't feeling it, so I actually let it dry, put it aside, worked on some other pages, and then I came back and just lightened up some of the paint. Although it tends to do that on its own anyway as it dries, you do lose about 25% of the pigment as your watercolor dries. And then I came back in with pencil, which was really fun, with some watercolor pencils, just dry, so working with those dry, not dipped in water. But I love I just love the color and the pigment of them, and they're pencils I've had since I was a little girl, so you can imagine, and you can see them as I'm using them in the images. Some are really quite small now, but that's all good. So I will link the colors that I use for you below, but they are actually a Faber-Castell brand, and the colors loosely are moss green, canary yellow, there's a sepia, which is my teeny tiny brown, a really pretty night green, which has a bluey tone to it as well, a dark orange, of course, and three different browns are actually, well, four different browns, because the sepia is technically a brown too, but a Venetian red, a burnt ochre, and last but not least, Pompeian red. So it actually has a kind of brown undertone on that red, but all fun, and I actually do use them in the color palette a little bit further down the line as well. So I hope you like the final piece on that. As you can see, the pencil really does make the difference, and I felt that it really got a nice depth with the soil and the pumpkins, and a nice balance with the help of the pencil in there as well, because it's some of those images are really quite tiny, so it's hard to kind of get that nice bloom and bleed with your watercolor. But anyway, then I wanted to stick with this theme and kind of making the best, and I decided to add an inspiration page or a gratitude page, just to remind myself of the things that not the things that I accomplished. Like, I'm not sure if you're the same as me, but I'm normally so focused on all the things I have to do, all the things I have not yet finished, and that's being a mum as well, being a mum, being a wife. I teach. I mean, I've always got so many balls in the air, but I'm always so focused on the things I haven't yet finished or that require my attention, that I forget to give myself some grace and and be proud of all the things I have done, and that I have a super crazy schedule. And I know that a lot of that is of my own making, but it doesn't make the day easier when you're just feeling tired and you're still looking at so many things that you haven't done. So and if you've been here a minute, you know that I do tend to be quite hard on myself and quite self-critical. So I'm all for pages that celebrate the wins, pages that remind us to be grateful of all the things we have, and pages that remind us to breathe and be nice to ourselves. All about being kind to others, but are we kind to ourselves? Often, no. So this page is all about that, and then I did actually start with the word joy, and then the next morning I was thinking, you know what, I need to add to that. So I'm not going to give it away, you'll see it at the end. But as you can see, I'm drawing these pumpkins, and I mean, seriously, they are so easy. Literally just start with the center and give the lines, so the lines are actually convex on both sides. They arch out ever so slightly. And then I just draw in the segments from there, and add some leaves and some sweet little curly vines. And as you can see, my leaves are just as simple as little bouncy curves and points. And you know what? That's what leaves are. Doesn't make any difference. You can see all different leaves out in nature, and sometimes they have a particular shape for a particular flower or a particular plant. But then Mother Nature and the birds, the bees, and the sun and the rain all have different ideas as well, and they reshape those leaves. So I encourage you to be kind to yourself and just have fun creating your leaves and your pumpkins, and not get too specific that it has to be perfect. So we're definitely about being present and not perfect here on the channel. Okay, so once I have done my lettering, and my lettering this month, I really was focused on kind of making it really soft and loose, and I wanted the letters to be different heights and be flowing, a bit like a pumpkin vine. So you'll notice that a lot, so if you like that, stay tuned, there's lots more to come. And then I came in with my watercolors, because I wanted to add a lot of watercolor this month. So there's lots of watercolor on my leaves and my pumpkins. And this paper was actually a watercolor paper that I had, and it's a Mont brand. And again, one of my favorite brands, because they make great paper, but they make it on a budget, and that for me is fantastic. It allows me to have a little more grace and not get so stressed out if I make a mistake or if I don't like what I've created. But honestly, if we scanned even the most basic image, and I do this with my students, I do something really basic, like a little love heart or a little rainbow or something small, and then I teach them to scan it in or photograph it, pop it into like Adobe Illustrator, and start playing with it and recoloring it, and they suddenly realize, you know what? Anyone can create art, and even the most simple kind of basic sketch can become something that's really fun and fantastic. So never throw away your art. You might come back with fresh eyes the next day or the next week and love it, or you may even find it ends up being something, and this happens to me so often, that ends up becoming part of a greater project, and you're so grateful that you just created for the love of it and not because you had to, or you had to work to a brief, just purely for fun. So what did I tell you? Some more watercolor pumpkins. Really enjoyed playing with these, and I love that pumpkins go through stages, and not to mention different types of pumpkins where they're all different colors. So I had really so much fun creating these, and as you can see, I added joy is not in things, it is in us. And this paper, once again, is fantastic without the ghosting. It's still quite sturdy, and it allows me to just turn it over and keep creating. So here you go, I've turned it over, and here we are starting our month at a glance. Again, this one is going to be a simple ink and watercolor creation. I have decided to separate this month again over 2 pages because I'll be back to teaching this month, so it's going to be crazy hectic. And leading up to Christmas, again, there's so many things I need to keep an eye on, and be on my toes and have the store updated and orders going out. And because even though Christmas is on not till the 25th, we don't get to post right up to that day, so we have to make sure that we organize all those things early, and help out our postal carriers to get things there on time so no one is disappointed. Okay, so you can see, having fun with my pumpkins, just adding a little bit of shading, a little bit of line work here and there to kind of denote the shape and the kind of fat chubbiness of my pumpkins, short stubby stalks and curly vines, pumpkins on all angles. And again, yes, I started with some pencil sketches on this, as I always do. This page can be a little bit complicated in that you need to kind of have enough squares. And again, if you see that it starts on the 2nd above, that's okay, because my months always flow from one to the other, so I don't have them so that they start and end on the 1st or the 30th or whatever it is. Every month I let them flow freely from one to the other as I keep creating my pages. This is something you could definitely do if you have a ready-made journal as well. Of course, you could play with your pages. You could use your grid lines if you are a grid line fan. They certainly help with your little squares, but otherwise they are simply 3 by 3 centimeters. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday days of the week are 1 centimeter by 3 centimeters wide. You can see some guides that I've put in there, and that's just simply because this is an A5 piece of paper, and I need to trim it down to 14 by 18 centimeters for it to fit perfectly in my handmade journal. And I will link that for you below as well. Someone did mention the other day that for some reason the link stopped working. Anyway, I have fixed that for you, and I have updated my other journal videos as well. So if you have had any issues with that, I apologize, but never feel concerned about pointing something out to me if it's not working, because I don't want that to be the case. Not going to take offense, going to absolutely love you for helping me out. So I appreciate the lovely person who had my back and was brave enough to leave me a comment and say it, even though I didn't know what the NLA meant. I'm like, what's an NLA? No longer something or other. It wasn't working. The link was not working. So anyway, fix that up, all sorted out now. And actually I have a new handmade journal coming out soon, because I've been wanting to create a handmade recipe journal. So love to cook. If you follow me on socials, and all the links for those are below, I have been sharing some family favorite recipes and kind of some images of pieces that I make for my own family. If you don't find me in the studio, you generally find me in the kitchen with big family and lots of friends and visitors and guests and friends popping in. I love to cook and celebrate, like I said, all the things. So, but I also have food allergies. So for me, I always just love to cook myself, and then my friends can sit down and enjoy a meal, and I'm not going to end up with stomachache afterwards. So also a good thing and I know that most of the world is going through this in some way or another. We're all struggling with the cost of living going nuts, and inflation, and banks raising interest rates. So quite honestly, sharing some fantastic family favourites that are much more cost effective than us all going out for dinner anyway, is always much appreciated, and they've been really well received. So feel free to jump onto my Insta or Facebook, and you can see me and follow me there, and by all means let me know if you found me via my YouTube, and please don't forget to share this page and my other links with your friends as well if you think that they would enjoy it, because it all helps me keep doing what I do. There's no monetary value for me. It's just nice to see that you know, I'm growing, and that, you know, I've got new people that, and you know, that's my tribe, and you are enjoying my vibe. Okay, so now that all my little boxes, and you can see I did a lot of that freehand, which to me just feels like it goes with that whole kind of pumpkin, chubby, imperfect vibe. You can see that now I've just moved on to add some watercolour in. You can see my October is kind of spooky and curly and very much like a vibe. And then I decided to turn the O in October into a pumpkin. So he has a stem at the top there and lots of little curly vines coming off. And then just simply added some shading. So one of my favourite things to do for my fonts and things now on my cover pages and things is just to add a little bit of shading instead of colouring it in heavy if I don't choose to leave it blank. But anyway, yeah, coming back to play with my watercolours here on my leaves and my pumpkins, and then I'm going to turn over and do the second page of my month at a glance as well, and that is, so it'll be a 2-page spread in total. And for you, those of you that are interested, I always wanted to let you know too that I always reopen my Christmas store on my website for October. So I've actually got some beautiful new wrapping that I designed, and that gets printed here in the studio and packaged up and sent off all over the world. The theme well, it carries on from last year. So the theme of the wrapping paper is near and dear. It has gorgeous little stags and does and little bambies on it, lots of vines. It has a real kind of woodland theme, and it was super popular last year. And so I have brought it back this year. It's just something that I don't normally do, and I've had complaints that I don't carry things from one year to the other and then they can't get it. And so I thought, you know what, I think I'm making things hard for myself. And so what I decided to do is to add some more woodland creatures this year as well. So you can still purchase the original near and dear wrapping, or you can purchase with the does and stags and a little fox, a hare and bird, or there's actually a standalone design as well that has my little fox, little hare, and some gorgeous little Christmas birds featured on some new watercolor leaves and vines and things like that. So they all work really well together. They coordinate beautifully. I've created new swing tags, so little Christmas gift tags as well. Again, there will be wax seals, the whole shebang. So, and I will do some tutorials and I will share them on my socials as well. So don't forget to jump on and connect with me there. The links are below. But I will be sharing some kind of wrapping techniques and fun things I do because I just love Christmas so much. It's my favorite time of the year. And a lovely thing is that having a Christmas range is I actually get to have Christmas in my life for longer, which is always wonderful. So don't forget to have a peek at my store if it's something that interests you. And I do send all over the world. So I have a lot of friends in Canada. They said that our dollars work really well. There's no additional taxes. They love me there as well. Lots in the US and London and really all over Germany and Netherlands and all kinds of stuff. And of course here at home. But don't be worried. And the postage is really, really reasonable because, let's face it, stationery items are nice and light, but they will of course be boxed so that they arrive safe and sound. Okay, so I skipped through this one a little more because you've already seen me do my squares and number them, etc. And I don't want to bore you to tears. So as you can see, my Saturday Sunday is a split square at the end, and that's your option to add another box if you would like, or do the same. And then I'm going to add some watercolor as well to the bottom of this. But what would I do without my kneadable eraser? Do you have one? It took me ages before I actually ended up going and doing this. And then I thought, what the heck was I thinking? They're so much easier. You don't have this dust everywhere. They work on pages that a normal eraser will kind of tear up or mark. Love my kneadable eraser. And again, that is actually a Faber-Castell brand. And I know that lots of people would think, does that really matter? But honestly, no two kneadable erasers are exactly the same in regards to different brands. I have purchased other brands that were, quite reputable, and they were horrible. They were sticky, and they didn't last 2 minutes before they really needed to be thrown away. Whereas the Faber-Castell ones are so cost effective. I mean, honestly, a couple bucks, and I do have that linked for you below as well. And they last and last and last. And you honestly, they'll last you for months and months and months before you think, oh, it's starting to feel a bit tacky, and then you'll throw it away and replace it. But again, they're like $2.50, something like that. So super cheap. Before we head on to another page, I will just touch on the colors that I've used for kind of this Halloween, autumn, pumpkin-y theme this month. So you'll see a lot of my favorites: yellow ochre, sap green, burnt sienna, burnt umber, sepia, and I did add an orange in there as well. So it's got a lovely little mix, and you can just see that I've got a whole lot of paint mixed up there on my tray, with lots and lots of water added, but then I just dip into my pigments if I'm wanting a little bit of extra oomph at the end. But look, honestly, these are so much fun to create, and you can't really go wrong. And what is a journal spread without a week at a glance, or a weekly spread? So I actually create one here with you, and then I keep creating mine throughout the month. So whenever I'm feeling like sitting down in front of the TV in the evening, I quite often will grab my journal and do a few more weekly spreads to add in for the month. And it's one of my favorite things to do because I've already thought up the theme. I try to keep it quite basic, so it's not a brain strain, and it's not hugely time consuming. But this was a fun one, and there's no real secret to the size of anything. It's not really measured. I decided to pop some pumpkins through the belly of it to just kind of set the theme, and that was definitely what I created first. The pages were already trimmed to suit my diary size, so I didn't have to worry about that. I use a punch to make the corners a nice soft curve on the corners, and then I just use my favorite little clear ruler that I use there, and I totally wing it as far as the borders go and the size of the boxes. Totally eyeball it, so I'm not too fussed at all if they're not all the perfect same size or anything like that. And again, my font is just a little hand-drawn one, keeping in mind that I wanted to keep it soft and curly and pumpkin-y. And just as promised, here you go. Here is my color palette this month, because you know what is a Bujo spread in, you know, Shabby Shack Studio without a color palette. So this one I wanted to do a bit fun. I love using my black cardstock, and I hadn't used that because I'd been doing so much watercolor. So I thought, you know what, watercolor pencil is required here, and a little bit of fun curly lettering. And then I'm simply, you can see the colors there on the left hand side, and I've simply come in and colored in the boxes just like I would if I was painting them. So there's some negative space and things like that, and really it's just so much fun and really super easy to do. You could definitely do it with pigment liners or colored markers if you had some Copics or Tombow markers or something like that on hand. Anything at all you have in the house, really. You could do it with markers if you were using white cardstock. Okay, so you can see that this girl definitely liked to colour when she was a little one, and I really did have fun playing with my colours and my colour pencils on this page, and you can see they look fantastic against the black with those little curly lettering as well there. And I am going to add some shading to that lettering as well, so that was a bit of an afterthought. But more than anything, I wanted to say thank you for being here again, and I really do appreciate it. So whether or not you're new, or you pop in every month and say hi and see what we're creating, can I encourage you to please hit subscribe and to share with your friends. Drop a comment, let me know what you think, or if there's something you'd like to see. If you'd like less chat, more music, I'm not going to be offended. Really, really do care what you think, and want to make this channel a huge success, and definitely worth crazy amounts of time I currently spend on it. And there will be lots and lots of Christmas stuff coming soon, and that handmade recipe journal too, so something else to look forward to. Already have so many plans, it's just a matter of finding all the time. And Rush, which is what I use for all my video editing, is at times a bit of a pain, so I apologize. Sometimes if there's a little less chatter, it just means it's been playing up on me and driving me a little bit crazy, and I just want to get the video done for you guys. So either way, whether or not you are a fellow YouTuber and have some fantastic advice for me in regards to Adobe Premiere Rush or another editing program, would love to hear what you think. Or if you just want to say hi, thank you so much for being here. I hope that October is good to you, and whether or not you celebrate Halloween, I hope you have some reason to celebrate something wonderful with your loves. See you later. See you soon.